Are we so different? What was, because sometimes we think that they were, I hear this thing all the time. I don't want to go to Africa because they sold my ancestors into slavery. I said, now, first, I said, that's one story that you have heard from who? And then I said, but do you understand that if, let's say that is the case, there were still people who were left behind, who lost their families, who lost their villages, who were fighting against the very entities that were creating the havoc. They were fighting against the British and the Dutch and the Portuguese and the Spanish and the French and the Germans and the Belgians. There were people who were vehemently fighting against these colonial interests and imperial interests, just like how we've been fighting in the US. But see, when you don't know that, you hear one person say, they sold us. But what about the ones who didn't sell? What about the ones who were fighting against it? What about the people in Namibia who were standing up to the Germans and the British? What about the Zulu who were taking it to the British and the Dutch? What about when you go over to Kenya and how they were taking it to the British? What about the ones who were fighting the Arabs in the East? You see, when you start putting all of this together, it's like there were people fighting this same system all of this time. But if I'm sitting in the US, I'm thinking that we're the only ones that went through it. What about down in Brazil and how they were the indigenous people and the Africans were fighting the Portuguese? And then when you come down into Haiti and what was happening with the French and how the Haitians actually defeated the French, but then the French came back and how the Haitians had to pay the French reparations in order for their freedom. Just the Italians over in Ethiopia and Eritrea. So you start going around the whole continent and you see that this story is much larger.